I was the first guy behind Israel, pointed and out the door. I had New Zealand, Cook, Niue, Samoa, and our interest in Antarctica. And my job was to kick the crap out of China and point out what they're doing in the Pacific. The ASEAN region, which is they're building and militarizing islands. They're changing the law of the air and law of the sea that's been in place for centuries, obviously making grabs on fishing and air and mineral rights. And my job was to hold them accountable, and I did it well. And it was an honor to serve. Yeah, but when I got back, and President Trump did not win, our country is upside down. You see it in the border. You see it in inflation. I mean, a Big Mac these days is like $7.49. And the 2019, it was $3.99. That's
right.
An 88% increase. Inflation is killing our families. And then you throw in, obviously, the gas prices and just the cost of doing everything is out of control. The border, fentanyl, it's upside down.
Yeah, it really is. It is upside down. And the former president is right when he says this is our chance to save our country. I mean, President Reagan right now would remind us that it only takes a generation to learn to lose the freedom that we've had. And we can go back to the pandemic and we can see the freedoms that were taken from us then on lies from a government official.
It's so true. I mean, we did not have COVID in New Zealand, though, so we had one of the only embassy 4th of July events in the world. And everyone's like, "Why aren't you social distancing? Why aren't you masked?" I said, "Listen, we're in a couple of islands, like in the middle of nowhere, down the bottom of the next continent is Antarctica."
Yeah.
So we're good. Listen, the restrictions on our liberties, they're out of control. I'm a little curious. Maybe you and your listeners know this, but I don't know why the various governments, especially if they're being controlled by Republicans, don't go after and change those laws back that allowed for all this easy voting without verifications, all the things that are completely upside down. But they're not. They're just kind of getting along. So my hope is that Republicans get out there and they do what the Democrats do. Let's do early voting then. Let's do the harvesting. Do everything they're doing if it's so-called legal. And let's get out there and let's win some elections and stop whining. Because that red wave in Congress never happened. President Trump, quite frankly, he needs to be there. And people, Joe Biden is obviously has some very serious mental capacity issues, and he's not doing a good job.
Well, it's funny that you were talking about election integrity issues, because in our next half hour, Ken Cuccinelli is going to be on with us. Of course, the former DA there in Virginia, and he works on election integrity, and he's going to be with us. He's chairman of the Election Transparency Initiative, and we're going to talk to him about all of that. Plus, we're going to talk to him about ranked choice voting and how dangerous that is.
Yeah. Well, they have it in Maine, I know, and they had something similar in New Zealand, and that's why you have coalition governments, and governments change, and you never have a majority. So you gotta do things a lot different. So I'm pretty familiar with it. But yeah, listen, there's so many. I'm the head of the Competitiveness Coalition, which obviously is addressing a lot of the attacks that Congress is doing on tech industries and others. And as I've said before, if there's issues regarding censorship which are completely wrong, it should not happen at all, then let's deal with it. But to basically create a backdoor for China and other bad actors by prohibiting our innovators from doing their number one job, which is to innovate, and basically it's a number one industry. We got to make sure we address those things.
Yeah, but we're going to take a break. Scott, if you can you stick with us, and we'll be right back.
Absolutely.
All right, former Senator Scott Brown is with us. We've given you one thing that the President Biden is ruining America's summer fund. The first one he said was, look at those price of tickets for your airfare. Look at the number of flights, the choices that you have that's disappeared because they've cracked down on some of the fees that airlines have charged. And with those fees gone, it's not profitable to run some of the flights that they were running. Scott, what else do you have for us?
Well, we talked about gas prices. I mean, the fact that they're demonizing our energy producers and basically relying on purchasing gas from those who either don't like us or want to kill us. And the fact that the president released our strategic reserves. Don't forget, Donald Trump filled those at basically $1.60, $1.70 a gallon, and Biden's going to have to refill them. And I heard he's starting to do it at buying barrels of oil for dramatically higher prices. Once again, just spend. And we talked a little bit about technology. There's an attack by Lena Khan, who's the head of the FTC, that really is wants to put a lot of our innovators out of business, changing the Department of Labor wants to change the business model for independent contractor companies to make sure that everyone's an employee. So cost of goods, cost of obviously food, everything is just going up. I mean, we know that. I know there's surveys that they say, hey, this 4th of July, how much more did it cost than last year? Well, it's going to cost a ton more. And, the attacks on a lot of these businesses that we rely on to get same day or next day delivery, you just, once again, it was an easy piece to write. It was very well received. Obviously, I appreciate you reaching out to talk about it. And I'm just mystified. Every single day there's something new with this administration. Now Joe Biden, he's going to do something about the border. He's still going to allow thousands of people a day, as long as it doesn't get off over that. Are you kidding me? That's still almost 100,000 people a year. Just shut the damn border, okay? Let the Border Patrol agents do their job, secure our country, and let's do what we should be doing correctly.
Well, you named two of the big things right now with plane ticket prices, or maybe not being able to get, a flight at the time that you'd like to. Gas prices. I mean, just inflation in general has made it where some people have said, I'm not taking a vacation this year.
Of course, and if you look, probably, if I'm not mistaken, the number is like 60% of Americans don't have $1,000 in their checking or savings accounts in the event of an emergency. The so-called, the folks that aren't as well off, and the so-called middle class, they're getting crashed. And Biden wants to let the tax cuts, Trump tax cuts expire. That's going to hurt us even more. But yeah, the food prices. Don't forget the gas, the regulations, the minimum wages. That's all contributing to these higher costs, not only at fast food restaurants. And what's the answer from people like Elizabeth Warren and others, for like the Burger King, McDonald's, whatever? Oh, it's all right. Just raise your prices. Well, when you raise your prices, it gets passed off to the consumer, and those margins by those independent franchisors are getting smaller and smaller and smaller. So what are they doing? Your kid's not going to be hired this summer because they're going to automate. If you have somebody making $20, $25 an hour just walking in the door, but you have someone who's been there for a couple of years making the same, guess what? They're not happy. So once again, I keep saying it, that this country is upside down and needs to be right-sized and right-sided really, really quickly.
Yeah, we only got a few years, I believe. If this isn't straightened out, things are going to go from worse to really bad, and people are going to see things that they didn't ever think they would see in their lifetime. With inflation and what we'd like to see, that reduced, it's not going to be reduced as long as this president keeps, spending like a drunken sailor.
Well, it wasn't just this president. I hate to say it. It's been a lot of presidents. And, the last one to balance the budget was your own Bill Clinton, whether you like him or not. Right. He's the last guy to balance the budget. God bless him, because we need to get our fiscal house in order. We can't print money the way that they're doing the quantitative easing and printing money and spending like drunken sailors. You sound like me. I say pigs at a trough because it's not their money.
That's right.
They've never signed any of them a front of a check, and they look to us and people like us to pay their freight, and we can't continue to do it. It's out of control.
I used to get upset when we were billions of dollars in debt. Everett Dirksen got upset when we were $1 million in debt. He said $1 million here, $1 million there. Pretty soon you're talking about real money. Now it's trillions of dollars in debt. And there's people who are beginning to say there's no way for us to dig out of that hole because we haven't stopped digging the hole.
Well, that's true. When I was there, it was $9 trillion national debt, and now it's up to, what, 34, 35 trillion and rising, and that's in a short period of time. Yeah, we got to stop the spending. People say, we can't do it overnight. No, we can't. It needs to be done together. And the first thing we do is you got to stop the spending. The second thing you do, people probably don't know this, but there's a ton of projects on our books that are still being counted towards our national debt and our deficit. Well, let's get those off the books. Those bridges to nowhere, they're never going to be built. Let's get a real accountant in there and actually do the books properly. And then when you're looking at, I proposed when I was a senator, a 5% across the board cut to every department in the government, so everyone feels that so-called pinch. You can't tell me you can't find 5%. Really? Come on. We find it in our households. I mean, we go for the discount. We use coupons. We, go to, maximize our dollars every single day. And let's do the federal government. And then you want to go to fraud, rape, and abuse and all that other stuff. Do everything, become energy independent. Start doing a lot of the things that basically good businesses do. And from there, if you need some money then come to me. Don't come to me first, okay? And once they pay off that debt, then let's sunset that so I can start to keep my money again. I mean, I'll do my fair share, but I'm not going to do it if they keep spending like pigs at a trough.
Yeah, absolutely. Senator, last question for you. Where can people read your article again, your op-ed that you wrote? Where can they get it at?
Well, they can go to my Twitter, at SN Scott Brown. It's on Fox on their site. More importantly, listen, I have a rock band. We're performing at the convention at the Harley Davidson Museum. I hope to see some folks from your great state there. And it's a Wednesday at 12 o'clock at the Harley Davidson Museum. And you can certainly follow my band, Scott Brown and the Diplomats. Love to hear from you. And we do a lot of Facebook Live shows.
Do you ever invite Governor Huckabee to come and play bass for you?
Absolutely. I was on his show. If you want to go to my site, you can see me playing Born to Be Wild with Huck. I did it about a month and a half ago, and it was a memorable experience. He's a lovely, lovely man and a dear friend.
All right. We appreciate your time. Thanks for giving us some time in a very busy day that I know you've got set up, and we appreciate you. Talk to you in the future again, Scott Brown. We appreciate you.
I hope so. God bless you, and God bless all your listeners. Let's go get them. Come on, get out and vote.
Thank you very much, Senator Scott Brown.